Hey everybody, Tristan Freeman here for Java1 class 1401 week 1. This week for my project I went through really 3 different concepts and scrapped the first 2 more or less for practice, but I also couldn't nail down exactly what I wanted to do in order to utilize everything we were required to have. So the final idea that I came up with was just to have the user enter their branch of military service and loop through an array and then populate it based on their input, as well as use a conditional to populate depending on what you type. So for example, I spent about 11 years in the Army, so I kind of favor the Army. So I have the hint branch of service. If you hit Army and submit, congratulations, you are in the Army. Deployment equipment to clean, and then a list of equipment that I pulled from my resource array. Now, I also set it up so if you do Navy, Marines, Air Force, or Coast Guard, it gives a different response as well. So we can do Navy, and it pops up, my condolences on not being in the Army. If you were to delete everything and hit submit with nothing, it says error, please join the military. So that's basically the functionality of the app. Kind of basic, but a lot went into it. So to take a quick look at the code, my required Boolean I ended up using to check is there content within my nested layout. So I created that in a separate class of its own called content, just to check. So I have my initial linear layout for the main, my text view for the directions. This is please enter branch of service. I have the edit text to enter your branch of service with the hint, and then the submit button that pulls the title for the button from my strings.xml resource. I finally, after the button, created a linear layout to display the data, gave it an ID, and set it to wrap content so that it's only as tall as it needs to be to display the information. Within the onClick, I use the Boolean to check does the data view have content. If it does, remove those views and change it to false. I created a string to capture the user inputted text and save that to use later, which I actually use right here in my conditional. So if the user string equals Army, create a new text view for that with parameters and set the text to the Army string, which is the congratulations, you're in the Army. It then goes through, sets the has content Boolean to true to let it know that yes, it has content on here. I created a local integer variable and set it to 0, and then pass that integer through to call my custom method, which I have down here at the bottom. I used a switch statement, which for my concept only really needed one case, so there's only a case 0. But within this, I create a local iteration of a linear layout, and I call and reference the data layout that I made for the content, created an array string, and pulled in the array from my resource, my equipment XML. And then I did a for loop, looping through that array, creating a text view to display that with parameters. And then I saved with string.item, or not string dot, but rather string item, created a local string to save each item in the iteration, and then set that item to the text view, and then added that to the view. So it only really works for Army, where it actually goes through, calls that custom method, and loops through everything. Everything else, if user branch equals Marines, Navy, Air Force, or Coast Guard, then it creates the text view for that. And it pulls in the string resource for not Army string, which if you go look over here is my condolences on not being in the Army. And then else, if it's empty, pull in the string resource not military, which is error, please join the military. So I initially wanted to do something military related. I went through a few different ideas and settled on this one when I kind of woke up this morning with more clarity than I've had all week and the focus to actually sit down and get this knocked out. And I thought this was kind of a playful way to do it that incorporates all of the required elements and takes care of everything. I learned a lot as to how I think or what I think of Java so far compared to Objective-C. I just came out of doing Objective-C, so I think naturally I like that more. However, with this project getting into it, I'm starting to pick up on it, I think, much quicker than I did Objective-C, which I really enjoy. And I enjoy the challenge and the differences between the two. What I would have done differently if I could would probably just try and nail down the concentration and focus to get started sooner than I did. I got started pretty quick, but I didn't nail down my concept or the logic, and that caused issues as you would expect once I got into doing it. Things I could use more clarification on. At this point, not a whole lot that I can, really anything that I can think of. It took me quite a while to come up with how to put these pieces together. But now that I do, I think I understand them quite a bit more. And having gone through and done this project from scratch 3 separate times, a lot of this stuff is much, much easier for me to do now. So that's it for my review video. Thank you for watching, and have a great day.